So, friends, this year paper was on the expected lines, and we had all the eight essays which has been asked were basically on the topic of philosophy. These are all very philosophical essays. So we can see the essays. Thinking is like a game; it does not begin unless there is an opposite team. Visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Not all who wonders are lost. Inspiration for creativity spring from the effort to look for the magical and in the mundane. So these are the four essays which we are going to discuss today. There are four essays in the section B, and those essays we will discuss tomorrow. Okay. So what I want is that you must participate in the discussion, because without your participation, you will not be able to, learn and make best use of this particular class. So I hope that you have already got my classes on essay writing, and you have practiced. You must have also seen some of the videos also on this particular topic. So let us now start with the first essay, that is thinking is like a game. It does not begin unless there is an opposite team. Now, what do you understand by this? Can you tell me what you understand by this particular topic? Any idea you can give? What is the meaning of this particular quotation, or this particular topic? Yes, what do you understand by this topic? Thinking is like a game. It does not begin unless there is an opposite team. So, in this topic, as we can see, that just like in the game, if you do not have an opposite team, let us say you want to practice cricket, or you want to play tennis or badminton. Now, suppose there is no opposite team, or if the team or if the opposite player is very weak, in that situation, you will not be able to learn, or you will not be able to play well, isn't it? Do you understand this point? So, what you understand here is that if you want to play a game, the opposite team or your rival is very important. Because suppose you are playing against a very weak rival, in that situation, what will happen? That you will never be able to improve your game. Only when the rival is good and strong, then only you will be able to improve your game, isn't it? Now, the same concept of game you have to apply in the case of thinking also. That unless the problem is big, unless there is opposite thoughts, there are different thoughts, you cannot succeed in giving a new thought. So let us first start with the brainstorming, because it is a philosophical topic, and I have already taught you as to how to, get into the topic and create so much of material that you can write a good essay. Now here we can see that some of the key points here is: one is thinking, other is game, then we have opposite team. Now as we can see, there are three important points. Just like you cannot play game unless there is an opposite team, you cannot think something new unless there is a rival thought. For example, if there is a religion which asks you to blindly follow whatever is written in the scripture, then there is science, which is opposition of the religion, isn't it? Science will tell you that don't follow anything unless there is a solid ground for it, a certain reason for it. Now, if there is no religion, there is no science. And because science is there, everything is logical. Then to counter that, there is a religion. So both the things are basically complementary, or they are playing with each other. Now, the first step, as I said, is that we should do brainstorming. Okay? Into human thinking, it is complex process like decision making, problem solving, creativity. Okay. To walk on the ground, friction is much essential. Okay. Now, how to elaborate this particular topic into 1000 to 1200 words. So one of the things which you must always consider is to brainstorm the topic itself. As I told you, the key important thing is thinking, game, and opposite teams. Okay. Now, on that basis, first of all, we will brainstorm the topic itself. Brainstorming the topic means what is thinking. That means how the thoughts are created. What is the actual meaning of thinkings and ideas? What is a game? We can define that. How thinking and game are interrelated. Now, generally, we think that thinking is something which is there in the mind, while game is something which is played or it is more action oriented, isn't it? But how they are interconnected, that we can discuss in our essay. Then what is the role of opposition in game? Because as we know that these two things are interconnected, so we have to talk about the role of opposition in the game, and from there we have to come to the opposition, role of opposition or opposite thought in the ideas and thoughts. Then what is the role of opposition in thinking, we can discuss, and then we can discuss how the people fail to think deeply, because this is also an important topic, that why people are not able to think in a deep manner, because ultimately that also we can discuss, because thinking is important, so how we can discuss our thinking. So all these topics, when we write the answer of all these topics, then we can write a great essay on this. So far, any question you have, please feel free to ask. Now, as I told you that, in our philosophical essay, one of the one of the jewels or one of the method to beautify our essay is to basically use different quotations. Okay. Now, some of the quotations which I have brought, of course, you can bring other quotations also, but these are some of the quotations which we can use. We cannot solve our problem with the same thinking we used when we created them. That means if you want to solve our problem, our thinking must be higher level thinking. That means it must be better than the earlier thinking. So, in the context of games, we can say that if you want to win, you must be better than your opposite player, isn't it? The same concept is applicable in case of thinking also. Another important quotation is that I am not, it's not that I am so smart, it is just that I stay with the problem longer. That means just like in the games, you have to practice, you have to work very hard for very long time, perseverance. In the same way, to create a deep thought, to create an important thought, you must also work with the problem for a very long time. So this is another beautiful quote by Einstein we can use. This also shows the similarity between the game and the idea. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Another beautiful quote by William Shakespeare. And the meaning of this quote you have to understand is that by thinking we can make the life good or bad. You understand? If you are having the right type of thinking, the same life will be good. And if you cannot think in the right manner, then the life can be bad, or the things can be bad, or the people can be bad. Then Mahatma Gandhi is also very beautiful quote we can use, and we are going to use it. First they will ignore you, then they will laugh at you, then they will fight you, and then you will win. This is also, this beautiful quote tells you that why people are not thinking deeply, because whenever you bring forth a strong idea, a new idea, then people oppose that, because idea which is popular, people generally follow that blindly without applying their mind. And anybody who comes with a new idea, people will fight with that. And you don't want to fight with so many people, you don't want to fight with the world, and that's why you are shy of creating new ideas. So this is also a quotation which can be used. Another beautiful quotation by Michael Jordan, a famous basketball player. I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games, 26 times. I have been trusted to take the game winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeeded. Now, this particular idea, or you can also use the quotation of Edison, that unless you are willing to fail, you cannot succeed. So that means when you are thinking, some many times you will lead to bad ideas, or many times your thinking will be wrong. But only by thinking continuously, improving that thinking, you can think in a better manner. Yes, Sasida, to bring about gender parity, the imperative to transform a stereotype society. Okay, that is another topic. We have got a special topic on that. We are going to discuss that. Okay, so we'll discuss that in the next lecture. There is another lecture essay on that. So now we have discussed, we have understood that thinking and games are interrelated because both require an opposite. If there is no opposition, then you cannot develop a great thinking. Okay. So now, how we can start this essay? First, we in the introduction we can define what is basically these three terms. That is thinking, game, and ultimately how what is their interrelation in the group and opposition also. So thinking we can define as the action of using one's mind to produce thoughts, opinions, judgments, and ideas. Okay. Thinking is why it is done because it is we want to solve a problem or we want to accomplish a goal, and that is why thinking is required. No, third quotation which we are talking about, there is nothing either good or bad. It basically tells you the utility of a thought. That means if you are having the right thought, then you can understand the word and the life will be good for you. You see, the same word, you will find that some people are happy, some people are unhappy. Why they are happy or unhappy? Because if you don't understand the word, if you don't understand the idea, or if you don't understand the people and event, then you will be unhappy and you will hate. But if you understand, then you will be good. So that is how it is connected here. Okay. That means if you understand other people, then you will be basically happy or you will be successful. Same thing happens in the game also. When you are playing a game, very important thing is that you should understand the thought of other person, your rival. So suppose there is a tennis player. If the tennis player, you don't know what shot he is going to play, or if you are a cricketer, if you can't anticipate the move of the bowler, then you cannot succeed. So that's how they are interconnected with each other. Okay, I hope you got the answer, Mushkan. Now then we can define the game. Game is a physical and mental competition conducted according to the rules with the participant in direct opposition to each other. Game is a context involving rivalry, strategy, and struggle. Now, the same thing you can see that in the thoughts also, there is always an opposition because whenever a new thought is created, that has to fight with the old thought or the different thoughts. And only when you are able to win, then only your thought is going to be accepted by the world. Okay. So even though it doesn't appear very logical, but unless there is a rival thought, you cannot succeed and you have to be better than the rival. Same thing just in the game. Okay. In games, multiple teams play and the best team wins. In thinking, also multiple thoughts and ideas come and best ideas win. Okay. And we can quote another very interesting quote here of Victor Hugo. He says, no force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. That means if you are able to generate the right idea, then you can transform the world because then that idea will basically prevail. So just like science, when the idea came and the right time was there, then everybody accepted science. Okay. And so basically the idea is that you create a new thought, and if the idea is good, it will defeat the old idea and that idea will become popular. Now, what are the common elements, between thinking and game? We can then in the body of the para we can discuss because these two things we have to establish that thinking and game are interconnected. So we can discuss the common element. We have to learn both. We require learning for thinking as well as game. Creativity is very important for both. If you want to, whether you are playing or we are thinking, because if your moves can be predicted by the rival, then you can never win any game. In the same way, if you are copying somebody else's thought, you cannot succeed. Intelligence is required for both. Success is important for both because unless you win, you can never succeed in a game or in the thought. So success is very important in both the cases. Both the things required in strategy. Strategy means basically how to defeat the rival. Now, let us say you know that when Einstein has given this theory, he has to prove the earlier theory is wrong, isn't it? So Newtonian theory, he has to prove wrong, then only his theory will succeed. So strategy is required to defeat the opposite thought or opposite team. Both require focus and concentration. Both require practice and perseverance, and both require opposition. Okay. So that's how we can we can now bring the role of opposition in the game. Okay, in the game, suppose when you are playing a game, you must outperform your opposition to win a game. Now, for example, if you are playing against a weak team and you are defeating the team, there is no glory. But if you are playing against a strong team and you defeat that team, then only you are your work is recognized. The stronger is the opposition, the better game you have to play to win. And therefore, good oppositions get the best out of you. You understand? Now, what happens that normally people don't want good opposition. They want their focus is what? Their focus is on winning. And how you can ensure that you win more games by having a weak opposition. If your opposition is weak, then you will win more game. But that will not help you becoming better. That will not be able to get the best out of you. Okay. So understanding, and when you are playing a game, understanding the mind of opposition is very important, because only then you can devise the strategy. That means if you want to create an idea, you must understand the idea of already existing idea, and then only you can create a new idea by basically defeating that idea or by finding out the fault in that idea. Okay. And you learn from every success and failure. And there is a very beautiful quote by Sun Tzu in the art of war. He says, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb to every battle. That means, if suppose you're fighting a war or battle, and if you don't understand the strategy of the opponent, you cannot succeed, isn't it? If you understand that strategy, then you can have a counter strategy. In the same way, suppose you are creating a thought, or you are thinking about something, then you must know what are the existing ideas already present. And only when you understand their weaknesses, then only you can work upon removing that weakness, and then only you can create a better idea. Okay. Now the question arises that, okay, we have understood the importance of winning a game. We understand the importance of having a new idea, but why people are unable to create deep ideas, deep thinking, why they are not able to do? Because people don't want to lose. In the game, people don't want to lose, and therefore, suppose the rival team is very strong, they will not play the game, because if they play, the chances of losing is high. So they avoid that. Okay, they play with the easy rivals and they avoid the difficult ones, and that is how they are failed to improve their games. In the same way, we prefer to live in the comfort zone and don't oppose a popular idea. So suppose everybody is believing on religion, and you also say, okay, I also believe that. Everybody say that money is very important. You also say, okay, money is very important. Everybody is running after a particular job. You are also doing that because you don't want to confront their idea. And so that is one of the reasons, because we are more comfortable in that. And people live with the problem and follow the existing idea, and that is why the problems are not solved. Better ideas can be created only by deep thinking, because unless you consider the existing ideas incomplete or some weaknesses in that, then you cannot create a new idea. And when you create a new idea and bring before the other people, they are not going to accept it. Okay, so you have to understand that what is most important, that you have to work on a same idea, same problem for a very long time if you want to create a deep idea. Because please remember that whatever idea is already existing in the world are followed by thousands of people, millions of people, and they are not going to change your idea, that their idea, unless you are having much better idea which can convince them that their existing ideas are bad. So we can then discuss the importance of opposition in thinking. For example, I've already told you that we cannot solve the problem with the same thinking we used to create them. That means we have, if you want to solve a problem, your idea must be of a higher level, not at the lower level. So that means you have to create a better idea. Higher level thinking, therefore, needed to solve the existing problem. And the problem is that the moment you give a new idea to people, they are going to oppose those ideas. For example, if suppose billions of people believe in God, or billions of people go for idol worship, and if you say that, idol worship does not work, they are going to fight you. The same thing happens, any idea. When Galileo has given the idea that Earth revolves around sun, people did not accept, because that time everybody believed that it is the sun which revolve around earth. So as you know, he was prosecuted for that. So whenever a new idea comes, people don't accept, and that's why Mahatma Gandhi's quote we can give: first they will ignore you, then they will laugh at you, and then they will fight you, and then you will win. That means you have to basically be ready to face the criticism of the people and also opposition of the people if you are going to create a new idea and follow that new idea. But remember that it is very important that such new ideas are created, because it is those ideas which transform the world. Suppose Galileo would not have given that idea, we would have been still believing that the sun revolves around Earth, and you can imagine where would have been the fate of science. Okay. So finally, my friends, we can go for the conclusion, and the conclusion we can write that we have to come out of the comfort zone and challenge the problem, and we have to provide the new solutions for the by creating new ideas. We must accept criticism. Suppose somebody finds faults with that, we must accept that criticism and improve upon the idea, continuously improve upon idea, learn from our success and failure, continuously improve our idea to create new thoughts, and develop the sportsman spirit. You see, you the process itself you should enjoy. That means if you're creating something new, and suppose that is a wrong idea also, then also you have learned something. Like if you're playing a game and your goal is only to win, then you cannot succeed much. You cannot enjoy the game. Enjoy the game, whether you succeed or fail, because in either case you have become a better sports person, isn't it? Same thing happens with the ideas. Even if suppose ideas are not rejected or ideas are wrong, at least you have learned in the process that your idea is wrong. So in that way, you play your best game and fight with the best idea, fight with the deepest problem, and that's how you can create better ideas. Okay. Now, in the opposition conclusion, opposition help in embarrassing our thinking process, and it can be professionally as well as personally to navigate complex in our. Absolutely fantastic, Shekhar. I fully agree with you. That is how in we can conclude that oppositions are important, and we must not shy away from opposition. We must we must take the opposition as your friend or ally, because it is only because of the opposition that we succeed. Okay. Okay, any questions on that before we go to the next lesson? And that's very interesting topic. Visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Now, what do you think about this topic? What comes to your mind when you listen to this topic? Yes, can you please tell me what do you think about this topic? What should I write? What is the meaning of this? Because unless you understand the topic, it is very difficult to proceed. So, what is the meaning of this topic? Yes, can anyone tell? Now, this, if you look at the important key points here, please type your answer as to what you understand. We have visionary, then we have decision making, then we have intuition, and then we have logic. These are the important types. That means we are talking about decision making, we are talking about intuition, we are talking about logic. How a good decision making require intuition as well as logic. You understand? If you are trying to make a good decision by your intuition, whatever comes into your mind, your gut feeling, that will not be a good decision. Okay? And if you are trying to make a decision purely on the basis of logic, without using your emotions and intuitions or gut feeling, that will also not be a good decision. So the best decision will happen when you will use both intuition as well as logic. You understand the topic? Because understanding the topic is very important before we proceed. Now, then the next challenge comes as to how we are going to basically expand this topic into an essay of 1000 to 1200. As I told you that we have to basically do the brainstorming, and in the brainstorming we can take all the key points, decision making, intuition, and logic, and ask relevant question on that. And when we write the answer of these questions, in that we will get a answer or we'll get a essay for this topic. Okay. So the question, as you know, naturally, what is decision making? That means we can define what is decision making. And decision making is very important. What are the difficulties we face in the decision making? Then we can define what is intuition, what is logic, and then we can define as to what is visionary decision making. Now, what is visionary decision making? That means something which may turn out to be wrong today. Maybe something is not accepted today, but ultimately it leads to the right result. That means your vision is not for the present, but you are able to see the vision for 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. That is basically what is visionary decision making. And for that, you require how only your logic may not may lead to bad decision. That means only when you are using your intuition, it is a bad decision. Only logic, how it is bad decision, and how if intuition and logic are combined with each other, then they can improve our decision making, that we can discuss. And then how do we develop intuition and logical thinking? Now finally, this is very very important, that we must always provide some sort of roadmap as to, yes, if I understand that intuition is important, logic is important, then how we can actually develop intuition, how we can develop logical thinking. So if we write the answer of all these points, we can write a fantastic essay on this topic. Okay. Ideas guided by rational thinking, yes. Muskan, logic, I will explain that in course of essay why logic is not sufficient for decision. Okay, I'm going to explain. That's what you have to explain, because the topic itself says that intuition and logic both must be there. Their intersection must be there. That means in a good decision, intuition as well as logic both has to be present. Okay, so let's now proceed with the. So you understood? You say any topic, any philosophy topic, you can use this brainstorming process, and then you can proceed for the essay. Now, some quotations I have brought here, but you can use some of the quotations of your own. It is through science that we prove, but through intuition that we discover. Okay, so science is reason. By reason we can prove, but if you want, intuition is something which does not exist, that we create. Okay, imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. That means imagination is intuition. Okay, so that is infinite, and that is what Albert Einstein has also said, that imagination is more important than knowledge. Science without religion is lame, religion without science is blind. Now, science is based on logic, and religion is based on intuition or emotion. So similar, we can paraphrase that and we can use it in our essay. Then Immanuel Kant has quotation is also very important. All our knowledge begins with the senses. Proceed then to the understanding. That means we use logic and end with the reason. There is nothing higher than reason. That means reason must be the end goal. Okay, you understand my point, Muchkan? You see, you may have intuition. Intuition is the beginning. It is the seed. But whether the intuition is right or whether the intuition is wrong, for that we have to use reason, we have to use science. Because many times what we think is incorrect. So unless that is tested by science, unless that is tested by raw logic and reason, then we cannot know the truth. Uh, Shekhar, as I said, that intuition is the beginning of the idea. Okay, we somehow get the idea from our experience. We call it gut feeling or intuition or guess, anything. But whether that idea is correct or not, that has to be tested by logic and reason. Okay. Now, here we can start the essay with different methods. One method is by definition. We can define intuition and logic, explain their role of decision making, or we can start with a story and bring this portion in the body para. I'm going to start with the story, a very interesting story which I teach in my class also. Two mothers were living in the same house. Each mother has an infant son. This is the story of judgment of King Solomon, who is considered to be wisest king. And so this story is very, very interesting. And this is a thousands of years old story. Now, two mothers, they were living in the same house and they were given a birth of, each has given a birth of a son. And what happens that one of the baby died. Now, one baby which survived, both the mothers claim that this is my baby. So, how to resolve that? In those days, there were no DNA testing and all that. Okay. So, they went to the King Solomon and said, please decide whose baby this is. Now, you can imagine the difficulty of the king because those days, how do you decide? There was no DNA test and all that. He used his intuition. He took out a sword and said that the baby should be cut into two and each woman will get half of it. Okay. Now that means the baby will be dead. No baby will be, so they will get the dead baby. So one mother did not contest the ruling. She said that okay, if she cannot have the baby, the other will also not have. But the other begged the King Solomon and says that give the baby to the other mother. Don't kill. Okay. Now the king declared. Now king declared that the second woman is the true mother because a mother will never give up her baby even if there is necessity to save its life. So you can see that how the king was able to perceive, imagine, and use the logic as well as intuition. He had the intuition that if I give this particular criteria or judgment, then the true mother will never allow the child to die. And then he used the judgment that here he used the logic. He said that because she does not want her child to die, that is why she is the true mother. And the other person is not the true mother because if she would have been the true mother, she would have never allowed her child to. So you see, this is a very beautiful case where a very tough decision was made on the basis of intuition as well as logic. So, like similar type of many stories are there. So, if such type of essay come, we can start the essay with this story also. Okay, or alternatively, of course, we can go for a definition part also, and we can bring the story in the body para. But I have brought the story in the introduction, and I am going to now bring the definition part in the body para. Now, decision involve a course of action purposely chosen from a set of alternatives to achieve organizational or managerial objects or goal. That means basically when you have to choose among the set of alternatives. Remember that if you do not have any alternative, there is no decision making involved. There is no decision making involved. Okay. So one very important thing is that if you are taking a decision, that means there are multiple alternatives, one, two, three, and you have to choose one. Then there is a decision making involved. Intuition is the ability to understand and know something without needing to think about it or use the reason to discover it or a feeling that shows the ability. Now, Muskan has asked, is intuition means guess? You see, Muskan, intuition definitely means guess, but let's understand that. I hope that some of you may be the student of mathematics. In mathematics, for example, when you are going to solve a problem, suppose you read a particular problem and you are going to solve it. Okay. Now, this problem can be solved by this problem can belong to many chapters. There can be many formula which can be used to solve this problem. But if you have practiced enough number of problems, then what will happen? That the right method will click to you. You will immediately know which formula has to be used, which procedure has to be followed, which steps has to be taken to solve that problem. Right or wrong? In the beginning, when you are starting to learn about that topic, those ideas will not come. But once you have practiced enough number of problems, then immediately you will get what is the best idea. Same thing happens in the sports also. Same thing happen in the administration also. If you have solved a problem or similar problems a number of times, you develop a gut feeling or intuition and you know which method is to be used. That is what is intuition. That means you are not thinking, you're not it is automatically coming into your mind as to what is the right method to apply in this particular case. Okay, you understand? So see, that's the Gandhiji envisaged the idea of freedom and independence from British. He consciously felt that it is hard to earn freedom with force. His rational thought of using satyagraha and non. Absolutely, Sasi Dar, you are very correct. You see, if you think about Gandhiji's time, in that time, violence was pervading all over the world. There was First World War, there was Second World War, and everybody thought that the problem can be solved only by violence, only by defeating the enemy. But Gandhiji's intuition was that in India, people are not violent, and we cannot use violence for winning the freedom. And therefore, by his intuition, he thought that if we use non-violence, then we can motivate the Indians to fight the British in a different way. And he was proven to be correct, and we were able to remove the British rule by non-violent method. Again, it was a good case of intuition as well as logic. Okay. Now, what is the logic? Logic is basically a way of thinking about something that something seems correct and reasonable. It involves use of reason and inferences. So, whenever we use logic, logic is basically we apply a different type of thinking that if this is to be done, then what is the method? So, logic is something very systematic method of proceeding, and by that we derive certain inference. But remember that logic is a subsequent process. Original idea, whether it was Albert Einstein, whether he's a poet, or whether he's a filmmaker, whether he's a story writer, everybody's creation start with intuition. Logic can only prove it right or wrong, but intuition is important for creating an idea. Okay. Now we can then talk about why decision making is difficult, because you have to consider multiple variables. Now, for example, for Gandhi, it was not possible to know what everybody thinks. Some people would be in favor of violence. Bhagat Singh was very popular that time. Chandrasekhar Azad was very popular. So many people were very popular. And some people were for non-violence, isn't it? So by logic, you cannot decide which is the right one, because some people can prove that, violence is the best method. Some people can say non-violence is the best method. And so purely by logic, you cannot decide. Second thing is lack of data. Sometimes you don't have the data, sufficient data, because if you want to use the logic, you must have the data. How you are going to collect the data from millions and billions of people? Then some of the variables are unknown. For example, when you are going to decide, you must know the mind of other people's thoughts, ideas, and strategy. And it is very difficult to know that, isn't it? Nobody tells his true thoughts. And so sometimes it is very difficult to know these variables. Then loss aversion. You see, whenever we take a decision, and suppose the decision is successful, maybe people will not appreciate. But if the decision turn out to be wrong, then we are going to be criticized for that. And so one of the reasons why people don't want to take decision, because they don't want to, you know, make loss. If suppose they don't take the decision, at least they can avoid the loss, isn't it? Like civil services examination, one example. Now suppose you decide to write civil services examination, there is a chances, maybe 99% chances, that you will not succeed in the civil services examination. After all, only 1,000 people succeed out of 5 lakh people, isn't it? So that is why many people don't want to write civil services exams. So they may have dream of becoming an IAS officer, but they don't write because they don't want to they don't want to face failure. And once you fail, then people criticize you. And that is why you don't take decision. And remember that whenever you take a decision, there is always a risk involved. Now, those people who have gone for civil services, they know that there's always a risk involved. So you have to take the risk. And problem is that whether your decision is right or wrong, whether it is writing the civil service examination or monetization issue, or whatever decision you take, whether that is a right decision or wrong decision, that only time will tell. For example, Canada. You take the example of India's conflict with Canada. Now we are going for tit for tat policy, isn't it? Now whether that decision is going to be right or wrong, that only time will tell. Okay, so that is the problem, that whenever you take a decision, even if suppose something is looking very correct decision, everybody is appreciating that. may turn out to be wrong in the future. And something which is criticized today may turn out to be wrong, right in the future. So the correctness of decision is known only in the future. And that's why people don't want to take the decision, because they will suffer if people criticize them. Now, what are the challenges? Suppose you take the decision purely on the basis of intuitional thinking. Then what are the problems? What are the difficulties? Okay. Then we'll discuss about the logical thing, Mushkan, as you wanted. If you are, suppose you are taking the decision purely on the basis of intuition, whatever your gut feeling is there, whatever your heart says, what are the problem? First, it is subjective, because emotions, intuitions are purely subjective. They are based on your personal experience and they vary from each person. They are based on emotion. Sometimes they are based on your faith, beliefs, and culture, isn't it? So it is, you believe on certain things and then you follow that, but you have not considered all the factors. Then it is difficult to justify and explain, because you may be thinking that this is the right thing because you feel so, because according to you this is the right thing to do. But how can you explain unless you have logic? Then if the decision is based on intuition, we cannot take into consideration multiple point of view, because if you're taking the decision based on intuition, there is no reason for it, and you don't know what is the idea of your boss, what is the idea of other people. So you can't take into consideration multiple idea, because intuition is very, very personal, and it cannot visualize the long term impact, because it is based on emotions. Emotions are temporary, so you don't know what is actually going to be its long term impact. Now, challenges of logical thinking. If you want to think logically and take the decision purely on the logical basis, then what are the difficulties? First of all, difficulty in collection of the data or information. Suppose I am, let us say I am writing a poetry, or I am making a film, okay, on a particular topic, okay. Then how do we know that that film will be successful? How can we collect the data whether the people are going to like something which is not at all, not created at this moment? So very difficult to collect the data. Sometimes data is insufficient or incorrect because people don't give the right information. Then it is very difficult to collect and analyze the data. For example, if you want to have the policy of violence versus non-violence, then how do we know how many people are favor, how many people are against, whether to sanction Canada or not, how many people? So that's very difficult. You have to sometimes use intuition. Then there is also very important thing, paralysis by analysis, because if you analyze, you can't take decision, because there will be equal, evidence or logic in favor, and many people will say no, this is wrong, many people say this is right, and then you don't know what to do, and that's how you will not be able to take the decision, because if you do too much of analysis, then perhaps you will not be able to take decision. And if you go for the logical thinking, you cannot take innovative solution, because logical thinking is based on the existing ideas, not the new ideas, okay. And then problem is that even suppose you have the data, then same data can be interpreted in a different manner. I will give you an example, and this is one of my favorite examples. As you know, this you might have perhaps heard earlier also, that two salesmen were sent to the African country by a shoe manufacturing company to discover new market to sell their company shoes. Now the salesman spent a couple of weeks there and then came back and reported the finding to their manager. The first salesman says that there is no market in that country. I did not see anyone wearing shoes there. The second salesman said there is a huge market in that country. I did not see anyone wearing shoes there. Now here we can see that the data is same. Data is same in both the cases. Both people did not see anyone wearing shoes there, but the interpretation is very subjective. One person said, look, there is a huge market. One person said there is no market. Now, of course, perhaps many people will say this is a better idea, but we actually do not know what is the right idea, because only when the shoe manufacturing company will be established there, then only we will come to know whether there is really a market or not. Okay. So this is something, even if suppose you have the data, the interpretation will continue to be subjective. Now, intersection of the intuition and logic. The best decisions are taken when there is an intuition as well as logic. Now, we can give many examples are there. You can give some examples. For example, Newton discovered the gravity by observing apple. He saw an apple coming, and by intuition he came to He thought that maybe there is some force which is pulling the apple, applied his logic, and then that is how he discovered the gravity. Archimedes principle example you may be knowing. Gandhi's non-violent movement we have already discussed. Steve Jobs designed iPhone which has the features of multiple types. It was a feature of tab, it was a feature of phone, it was a feature of internet and all that. And so he was able to create a product which is based on his intuition, plus at the same time his logic. Then the doctor, when he diagnosed a disease, it is not purely on the basis of the evidence, but also he used his intuition. The LPG policy, that is liberalization, privatization, globalization policy, which was started in India, that was again something which is based on intuition and logic. Okay, so these are the some of the examples. We can discuss some of the examples to supplement our point of view. The next thing we can discuss is how we can develop intuition and logical thinking. So for this, we have to get out of the comfort zone, accept the challenges. Because if you are not willing to, think new things, then you cannot develop intuition. Education and reading, because we can learn from other people's idea, and that is how we can develop our intuition, logical thinking. Both require education. Practice and experiment. This is very, very important, because what happens, as I said, in the mathematical problem, sometimes you apply a formula, you don't succeed, and when you don't succeed, then you try another formula, and then by that practice, gradually you come to know about the right method, isn't it? Accept failure and risk. Risk management, that means you, instead of avoiding the risk altogether, you take the calculated risk, or learn from the experience of self and other, and that is how we can develop intuition and logical thinking. First one is getting out of comfort zone, accepting challenge. You see what happens, that intuition is something which is always very challenging, because intuition is by definition something which is untested, and there is a very high risk of failure. Okay, and you cannot even justify that. Suppose your decisions are based on logic, you can always say, look, I have taken the decision because of such and such thing. But suppose you have taken the decision on the basis of intuition, then people say, look, you are fool, you don't have any reason for it. So criticism is higher because you can't even justify it. But still, intuition is very, very important, because unless you are taking intuition, you can't create a new idea. You see, Newton's discovery by observing apple is something which is really based on intuition and logic. You see, we all see apple falling or anything falling from tree to ground. This has been from thousands of years. People has been seeing that, isn't it? But he saw that, and by his intuition, he thought that there must be some force applied by the earth, which is pulling the apple. And by that, he thought that this is gravity, the concept of gravity came into mind. Okay. So you can see this was intuition. Intuition, because this is an idea which has never been thought before, isn't it? From millions of years, people are seeing apple falling, but nobody thought. So it was his intuition. And then he applied the logic that yes, there must be a force which is pulling the apple. Right? So finally, we can conclude by, imagination is more important than knowledge. And this quotation we can use. And we can develop the intuition by practice experiment. And we can discard intuitive superstition, biases, pseudoscience, because by logic, we can get over all these biases and all that. We can develop logical and rational thinking by using logic, because see, all the intuitions are not right. So the intuition has to basically meet the test of the logic also. And when both things are, that means when it is logically correct, it is rationally correct, then only it is accepted as an idea or truth. We can develop emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence means you are connecting the emotions with reason. If you have studied the emotional intelligence, you know about that. Instead of avoiding risk, we should manage the risk, and we should learn from experience. And for learning from experience, this is a very beautiful quote which I always give. Sir, what is the secret of your success? A reporter asks a bank president. Two words. Answer, what are they? Right decision. Isn't it? If you succeed, right decision. And how you make the right decision? One word. What is that? Experience. And how do you get experience? Two words, answer what are the wrong decisions. That means unless you are willing to accept the wrong decisions, you will not be able to take the right decision. Because you see, whenever you create an idea, you definitely sometimes go wrong. And when you go wrong, you learn from it and you avoid those mistakes. And that is how you create you reduce your mistake and come to the right. Okay. Okay. Any questions so far? Please ask. Now we are going to discuss the toughest of the essay of today. That is, not all who wander are lost. Can you tell me the meaning of this? What do you understand by this? This is perhaps the most difficult essay to write. Not all who wander are lost. Yes, anyone? So this is a very, very interesting topic, and I think the most philosophical. There are two philosophical topics, and I think this is the most philosophical topic of this year. Okay, what does come to your mind? Not all who wander are lost. Wander, as we know, is when we are moving from one place to another place without any purpose, without any goal. We just want to explore. We don't have any specific idea in mind. That is what is basically wandering. And when we are wandering, sometimes we are lost. Suppose you are going in a place which is very unfamiliar place where we don't know the way. There are chances that you will never come back. You will lose the way, isn't it? But sometimes we discover new things. That is basically the meaning of this particular topic. So let's start with the topic. First of all, brainstorming. Not all who wander are lost. So, what are the brainstorming questions? Why do people wander? Why do we move around aimlessly? What is the purpose of that? Are there any benefit of wandering? And if it is benefit, then what are the challenges of wandering? And why people get lost? Then what are some example of fruitful wandering? That means where we got something good because we wandered to different places. And then how can we make best use of wandering? So these are some of the questions whose reply you will get in the yeah other yeah, that's correct, Shikhar. Some wander in search of knowledge and God. So wandering basically means that you are not having any path already known. You are going on the uncharted path. That is basically what is wandering. So in a city, for example, you are just moving from one place to another, meeting new people, seeing new places. That is what is wandering. Okay. If you are going on a predefined path, this is not wandering. Okay. Now, some of the quotations which we can use here are as following. You have to leave the city of your comfort and go into the wilderness of your future. What you will discover will be wonderful. What you will discover is yourself. Comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. Sometimes it takes a wrong turn to get you to the right place. The journey, not the arrival, matters. And travel far enough, you will meet yourself. These are some of the quotations which you can use here. And I think other quotations are simple. The idea is that the first quotation is that, only when you discover, when you meet new people, you face new challenges, then only you discover. For example, let's take the example of Gandhiji. Now, Gandhiji, when he went to South Africa, when he was thrown out of the compartment, then he discovered himself. Suppose his life would have been comfortable, then he would have never discovered that he could be a great leader. So, when you go to the new places, face new challenges, then only you discover yourself because how you face the challenges makes you and discovers you. Okay. So, in the beginning, we can start with the definition here in this particular essay. Wander basically means a thought or a trip that seems to go nowhere or has no purpose. So, you are just wandering because you enjoy that, you want to just experience new things. That is what is wandering. Wandering walk is without destination is mind, making it seems like a useless endeavor to the waste of time. Now, if you are going, let us say, from place A to place B with a particular purpose, then it is not wandering. There is a purpose behind it. But if you are going without a purpose, then that is wandering. A wandering person may find a great purpose or destination along the way. Now, the great spiritual leader like Buddha, Jesus Christ, Vivekananda got enlightenment through the wandering. Yes, wandering. Wandering basically. So I'm going to discuss that, Sashidhar. So we can start this, for example, the story of Buddha. Now, if you look at Buddha, how he becomes so enlightened, you may be familiar with this story that Buddha was actually brought up in a very comfortable zone, and no problem was he faced no problem in his life because he was a prince. He has all the comfort. He has everything what a person dreams. But one day he ventured out. That means he wandered. There was no purpose. He just wanted to see the world. So he ventured out of the city gate and saw four instances or four sights that changed his life. He saw an old man, a sick man, a dead man, a wandering monk. And then he was told that everybody get old, everybody gets sick sometime, and everybody has to die. And then he also saw that to be happy, you don't have to have a lot of wealth because a monk who is having nothing, he is also living his life. So that has generated a new idea in him. That first of all, there is a lot of problem in this world. And the second idea was that you don't have to be a prince to lead a good life. And so, because of that, he decided to discard all his luxuries and leave the place to discover the truth of life, which could provide human freedom from suffering. Now, he wandered from 6 years, met many masters, learned numerous spiritual practice. He did not have any specific thing in mind. He was not going to do a BTech or MBA or anything like that. He was just going and meeting different people and trying to learn from them. Finally, he Bodh Gaya, he was in the meditation for 6 days and then he got enlightened and become a Buddha. So, friends, you have seen that, Buddha did not follow any particular book or scripture. He learned from his experience. And how he learned from experience? Because he wandered from one place to another, met large number of people. And because he met with the large number of people, he got lot of ideas. And then finally, from those ideas, he was able to generate a new idea. Okay. Now, so we started with the definition of wandering, and now we come to the body. Now, wandering, as Sasidhar has been saying, it has been part of traditions of all civilization. In our ancient time, the rishis, munis in India, they did not have any permanent home. They lived in jungle. They wandered from one place to another. The monks also wandered from one place to another. Even Buddha, even he became Buddha, he was not staying in a particular house. He was wandering from one place to another. Adi Sankaracharya also, he wandered from India to unite Hindu philosophy. He saw all the places in his short life, and that has helped him in finding the common truth, and he was able to unite the Hindu philosophy. Greek historian explorer Megasthenes, he came to India, and then he discovered Mauryan Empire to the Western world. Chinese, traveler Hun San, he wandered to India because he wanted to know about Buddhism. So he wanted to come to the original place where the Buddhism was created in the period of Harshvardhan. And so from meeting different people, he was able to get a better idea of the Buddhism. And also he was able to know the political, religious, and social conditions of people he discovered. And those we know today about Harsh or let us say Mauryan because of these wonders. Okay. In the modern time also, you see that wandering is very common and it is very useful. For example, a lot of people go to the holy places like Chardham, Triveni, Makkah, and that basically awakens spirituality in people, because when you go to those places, you get a different type of feeling, you meet with a different type of people, and then that generates a new idea. International and domestic travel is very popular when you go to different countries. Like I'm in a different country today. You're meeting with a different type of people, so you're learning their cultures and traditions, and that widens your understanding. Even in the home, when we are surfing internet and seeing different sites, then we are understanding different type of people, different type of cultures and events in the world. In the same way, when you are going to social media, YouTube, Twitter, then you understand how people think differently on the same topic. Of course, some of the things you will not like, some of the things you like, but the idea is that when you wonder, when you are just surfing those sites, then you come across different type of people, and then your mind get broadened and you develop a better understanding of the people. Now, what are the benefits of wandering? When we wonder, what are the benefits? First of all, first hand knowledge of the reality. Otherwise, what will happen is that, no, I am in Germany right now, Muskan. I am in Germany, Munich. Now, what are the benefits of wandering? First hand knowledge, because you're meeting the people directly, you're seeing the things, you're seeing the places directly. It breaks monotony and make your life interesting. We understand the different cultures and traditions. We overcome biases and prejudices, because when you meet the real people, then a lot of biases which has been created by the media and by the political leaders, that get busted. There is a adventure, there is a self-discovery, and we can get the answers of profound question of life when we wander. And we attain wisdom and enlightenment, physical fitness. All these are the different benefits which we can discuss in our essay. Okay, so you can see this type of abstract topic also can be, we can get into the deeper of that and write a beautiful essay on that. But there are certain challenges of quantum also. This is an antithesis which I think is important for us to write, because wandering is not always necessary. And why I am writing this? Because the essay says not all who wander are lost. That means most of the people are lost while wandering, but some people are not lost, isn't it? That means wandering can also lead to lost. That means wandering can also be disadvantageous to you. And you must know that also. Okay? So, what are the negative side of wandering? Wandering of mind will make us lose focus of our thoughts and often the task at hand. Suppose you are reading something, your mind is wandering here and there, then what will happen? You will not be able to focus. Wandering person fails to discharge his duties and responsibilities. Suppose you are moving from here to there without any purpose, then how you are going to take care of your family responsibility and professional responsibility? A great person may, if you're wandering, meeting new people, no purpose, no money, then sometimes you become desperate and do the wrong thing, or you can get attracted toward evil things. You see, in the civilized society, when you are living, then you are avoiding the negative things because you can be recognized, you can be punished. But if you are in an unknown place and you are just wandering, you may get attracted toward negative things. And if you are wandering instead of doing your job, then people may lose trust in you and they may refuse to accept when you come back. Suppose when your children need you most, and at that time you have wandered and came back after a lot of many years, then people may not accept you. Wandering can also lead to wastage of time, opportunity cost, financial implication. Wandering can also develop hatred, acquire false knowledge. Because when you are wandering, then many people will not treat you properly. And in that case, you can develop hatred for them. Sometimes some people will convince you about the knowledge which is not the right knowledge. Sometimes you can develop the bad habits, lose health and morality. This is also important, because what happens that the bad things, the bad habits are very addictive and they can tempt you. In our normal life, we don't do anything bad because we don't get in contact with the bad people. But when we are wandering, we are meeting all sort of people, and these bad people are highly attractive. They can tempt you, and in that process, you can lose your moral, you can lose your health, you can develop bad habits also. So the conclusion is that yes, we must wander because wandering can give you a lot of benefits. There is a famous saying that not all classrooms has four walls, and so we can learn a lot of things by wandering. But wandering must be planned and intermittent. So whenever you wander, it must be planned in the sense that this is what we want to learn, so that you can make best use of it. It should also be intermittent. That means when you are working for, let us say, a few months, for some time you can go for wandering and not permanently. When you're wandering, you must keep your mind open to learn from different people and experiences. Suppose you are wandering, but your mind is closed, you are not learning new things, then it is a waste. So you can take career breaks, sabbatical to wander. And it is important that, whenever you get time, you just get out of your common zone, comfort zone, meet new people, experience new things, and that can definitely make you more intelligent and more experienced and more wise. But you should not wander to avoid the responsibility because that is not desirable. And excessive adventure also you should avoid. While wandering, you should not engage into immoral practices. And whatever knowledge you acquire and whatever wisdom you acquire, you must try to apply that in the real life. By wandering, you can find yourself and not get lost. So the goal is that by wandering, you should not get lost, but rather than that, you must find your true self. So this is a very famous quote. With this we can end. Jobs fill your pockets, but adventure fills your soul. Muskan, suppose you are wandering. Okay, suppose you are in the surrounding of your friends and families. They will treat you nicely. Okay, but suppose you are wandering in an unknown place and meeting unknown people. Now let us say you are going to different country, different society. Then some people may mistreat you. If you are a woman, you are going in a place. Some people may misbehave, and then you will have hatred. You will develop hatred for them, isn't it? When you are in the familiar surrounding, you are protected, you are comfortable. But when you are wandering into unknown places, anything can happen to you. And that is how, when you have a bad experience, you develop hatred. You understand? Okay, now we can come to the next very interesting topic. Any question, please feel free to ask. You got the answer, Mushkan? Or you have any doubt? Please feel free to ask if you have any doubt. So the last essay we are going to discuss today is inspiration for creativity spring from the effort to look for the magical in the mundane. Now, what do you understand by that? Yes, anyone? What do you understand by that? That basically means, if you look at here, if you look at the key words, inspiration for creativity, this is one. The second is magical. The third is mundane. Okay, Shasidhar, whenever I get time, I will, as told you that I'm just, you know, uh, traveling, but I will tell you as soon as possible. I will give you the feedback. Okay. Now, first of all, we should understand mundane basically means something which is very common, which we see all around us, and we take for granted. Magical is something which is unusual, which we don't see, which we don't understand. That is magical. Now, generally, we are not impressed by the mundane thing, common things. But if you can find something magical in those common routine things, then you can be creative. Okay, you understand the topic? So, first of all, we have to understand the topic. Now, once we have understood the topic, let us now do the brainstorming. Inspiration for creativity spring from the effort to look for the magical in the mundane. Here, the different issues that comes. Shekhar, the point here is that we often think that we will be inspired by something very innovative, something creative. and we don't think that we can get ideas from very common things. So this particular essay says that if you can see the same thing, common things in a different perspective, you can be creative. I will give you some examples also. Okay, so what is creativity? What is mundane things? What is magic? These are the common questions. How we can see the magic in the mundane things. Then the important thing, why creativity is important. Why it is so important to be creative. What inspire creativity? How can we become creative? Then we can give some examples of creativity which has emerged from the mundane thing or the common things. And then we can finally conclude our essay by discussing how we can develop creativity. Okay. Now, these are some of the quotes which we can use in our essay. There are only two ways to live our life. One is as though nothing is miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Beautiful quote. This is very much pertinent to this topic because uh, while Einstein, Newton, or anybody, they saw the same world, which we don't find anything very unusual. We take everything for granted. But they saw a miracle. They questioned as to why this is happening. And from there, they got the idea and they became creative. Another beautiful quote by Michelangelo, that is, every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. That means stone is ordinary, but you can make a beautiful statue from that. That means every ordinary things, there is something magical which is hidden behind it. Martin Luther King's quote, almost always the creative, dedicated minority has made the world better. That means creativity is important to improve the world. Creativity is the power to connect the seemingly unconnected. That means something which is looks very different. If you connect the two, then you are creative. Now, introduction, we can start with the definition, the two methods. Other is the story of Newton and falling apple. Now you can see that this is a beautiful example of Newton falling apple because Newton did not see anything extraordinary. From millions of years, people are seeing the apple falling, isn't it? But he was able to think in a new direction, and he thought, why apple is only falling, why it is not going up? That means there is something which is pulling. That means the earth is pulling, and earth is pulling everything because everything which is there goes down and does not go up. That means there must be some common force which is attracting every material thing, and that's how the discovery of gravity took place. Yeah, Einstein also, Einstein got this idea of mass, but that again, he something which we don't compare. We thought that the mass, electricity, I mean, the mass and the energy are two different things. But as I said, creativity is when you connect two different things. We thought energy is separate, mass is separate. Mass is conserved, energy is conserved. But we never thought that they are also interconnected. That Einstein thought, and he was able to get that formula. Now, as I said, we can start this with the story of Newton, and then in the body of the para, we can define the different term. Mundane means basically something which is very, very ordinary, and therefore it is not interesting because, like eating food, sleeping, children, we take everything ordinary because everybody has it. We usually ignore mundane thing in life as routine, boring, and little value. On the contrary, magical means something which is beautiful, delightful, which seems very extraordinary, and which is not seen in the everyday life. Isn't it? The magic happens once in a while, not every day. Magic is awe-inspiring, captures our imagination, elevates our spirits. Now, what is creativity? Creativity is the ability to discover new and original ideas, connections, and solutions to the problem. That means something which we develop new, provide new solution to the problem. That is what is creative. So these three terms we can define, and then we can move forward. Now we can discuss as to why the creativity and innovations are important. Because Without creativity, the human should not could not have developed. Creativity is highly valued in the society because innovations change the world. We can give some examples of innovation that change the world. For example, fire, metal, house, family, farming, computer, internet, social media, email. Now look at this. I am sitting thousands of kilometers away from your place and you are able to see me live. Is it not wonderful? Is it not the power of innovation? Isn't it? So these are the innovations which have changed the world. We can describe them in brief. We can also see that the countries which innovate most are developed fastest. When Britain was the most innovative country in the time of Newton and other people, when Britain became the most powerful country in the world. It is such a small country with only 6 crore population today. But still it became the most powerful country because of innovation. Today, if America is the most powerful and country and developed country, it is also because of the innovation. You can see maximum Nobel prizes goes to those countries. We can give the example. So if you are unable to innovate, you are unable to succeed. Individuals with creativity will become leaders, artists, and scientists and writers. So what is true for community level, country level is also true for individual level. If as an individual you are creative, you can become great success. You can achieve great success. You can become leader. So Steve Jobs' quote is very important here. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. If you can innovate, you can become a leader. If you don't have innovation, you can't become a leader. Now we can give some examples of creativity from mundane. We can give some other examples. Newton example we have already given. Archimedes, he was taking bath, and when he just went inside the bathtub, then water went out, and then from there he got the idea that the water which he's replacing is equal to his weight. Buddha's foresight example we can give. Gandhi's non-violent resistance also we can give. So these are some of the examples of creativity which we can give. That these are the something which is coming from the ordinary life. Buddha did not see something which we have not seen. Everybody see old people, everybody see ill people, everybody see dead people, everybody see monks, but we don't get that idea. So he got the ideas only from the mundane thing. Okay. Then we can discuss as to how we can develop creativity. We can closely observe the mundane. Now, mundane, we don't pay attention. We just take it for granted. But if you closely observe, then we can learn. For example, let us say, you are going and there is a flower. Now, you never thought that, why the flower blossoms and why one flower blossoms, other does not blossom. If you think deeply into that, then you will come to know that to blossom the flower, you require water, you require fertilizer, you require taking care of it, protecting it. And from there, you can get another idea. And you can see that if you want to nurture a person, you have to give the right thought, put him in the right environment, take care of him. And that's how you can grow a person. Then you can use it in the society or the country. So you can get the ideas like that. What is the difference between innovation, invention, and innovation? Shekhar, invention is something when we discover a new thing. That is what is invention. Like internet is an invention. Okay. Innovation is something which is already existing, and we put it into a better use or use the existing products to create a useful product which can solve a particular problem. So innovation does not mean that you are creating something new, but you are using the already existing thing in a new way. For example, suppose you're building a house. Okay, suppose you're building a house. Now, creation of bricks, cements, iron, those are innovations. But the same products can be combined in a multiple way, and different type of structures can be created, different type of buildings can be created. That is what is innovation. So innovation is something which is already existing and you are making it a new use. Discovery is again something which is which does not exist, and I mean, discovery is something which is already there, okay, and you have reformed it. That is what is discovery. For example, there is already Nalanda University was already there, and you have discovered that. So discovery is something which is again close to invention, but discovery is more wide. For example, let us say if you discover culture, you can't call it invention because it was already there. You understand? Only thing was it was hidden, it was not seen, and you have discovered that. Okay, invention is something which did not exist, and you have created something absolutely new. For example, internet, it never existed. Social media never existed. That is what is invention. Okay, so how do you develop creativity? Observe. So change your way looking at the mundane thing. Appreciate the mundane thing in everyday life. Be grateful because unless you enjoy something, unless you appreciate something, you cannot get the best. Like studying. If you enjoy your studies, then you learn best from that. Don't take the things for granted, but investigate. Accept problems as opportunity. Whenever problems comes, take it as an opportunity and try to solve the problem. In the process of solving the problem, you'll find that new ideas will be generated. Think deeply to explore different dimensions of the problem, develop new ideas, things, theories, hypotheses, test the ideas for validity and usefulness. And once you develop the idea, it will not be considered to be creative unless it is useful. You understand? So you have to use that idea and solve the existing problem, then only it will become a creative thing or do something new. And in the process, accept mistakes, failure, and learn from them. And that's how you become creative. Now, in the conclusion, we can end, with the Albert Einstein quote: "There is only two ways to live your life. One is nothing is miracle. Other is everything is a miracle." So you have to change your perception. So whatever exists, you think that it is a miracle. How it is a miracle? How we live, how we breathe, isn't it? How we love, how we hate. Just think about it. Everything is a miracle. Same person is loved by one person, hated by another person. Is it not a miracle? So you have to change. And once you go into that, why this is happening, you will create something. Innovation we see when we see magical in mundane and discover the unknown by deep thinking and imagination. But remember that, for discovering anything, you require to get into the depth of it. Just like if you want to discover oil, you have to get into the depth of earth. Same thing if you want to discover an idea, you have to get into the depth of that. Create the world as you wish to have. So every block of stone has a statue inside, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. Now, the law of nature, for example, Newton has discovered gravity, but gravity existed from time immemorial, isn't it? He has only discovered it. Same thing happens with anything, any law. It is already there, only thing is you have to find it out. And when we discover the hidden secret of nature, we discover our own nature because we realize our full potential. Like Einstein, for example, he discovered himself by discovering relativity. Newton discovered himself or his capabilities by discovering gravity and other things. So remember that there is because as a writer, as a thinker, unless you discover new things, unless you create something new, your identity will not be revealed. If you're just doing what everybody else is doing, then you are a machine. You are like a machine. Nobody will appreciate you. You can be replaced. But if only when you discover something new, you you discover yourself. Okay, so that's how we can end this essay. And Abhijit Banerjee used randomized control trial to alleviate global poverty, given the economic prize for using the existing RCT technique. Yes, so that can be called an innovation. Something which is already there. If you are using that in a different way, that's innovation. So, friends, tomorrow we are going to discuss at the same time 9 p.m. Four essays of the second section. Girls are weighed down by the restrictions, boys with demands to equally harmful discipline. Mathematics is the music of reason. The society that has more justice is a society that needs less charity. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what has learned in the school. Very interesting topic, and I hope that you enjoyed the session today. You learned something useful. Any questions are welcome. Any question you have, please ask. Do you have any doubts or questions? Please feel free to ask. So so I think there are no more questions, and if you have any question, reserve for tomorrow also. So tomorrow we'll meet at 9 p.m. Okay. See you tomorrow. कल मिलते हैं फिर. And if you have any doubts, please ask me to the